Welcome to Go For Side Effects. I'm your host, Kevin Simon. You all know my co-host, John. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks. Hey, everybody.
You doing good?
Yeah.
And today we have Joe Bouza. That's Bouza.
Close enough. Close enough.
Man, I was close. I was so close. I was like, man, I'm gonna get this right. Is that an Italian name?
It is.
That's the problem, man. Because I gotta say this. I'm gonna say it lower. My wife's last name is Favusa. So you think about trying to say that when you first meet a girl. What's her name?
Yeah, exactly.
Everything. But you know what? Welcome. This is another Army guy. I apologize. On behalf of the Navy, I apologize.
What the hell? Oh, come on.
I'm just saying,
right.
you know.
All in good fun.
But you know what's great is about having Army guys. Army guys and Navy guys and Air Force guys don't have a hard time talking about what they went through. I only think I've had maybe one or two Marines at the most on the show. So I don't know why the Marines aren't coming on, and it's really frustrating.
Right.
So
right.
They're scared of the Navy.
Oh, shit.
I'm just kidding, Marines.
Wow. Oh, wow. Damn, man, you're gonna blow up.
So Joe, tell us, what years did you go in, and talk about a little bit about, you know, when you went in, why you went in.
I was done with high school. I wanted to go fly, and I went to the Air Force recruiter, and he said, "Let me look at your high school transcript." And when I showed it to him, he laughed at me. He goes, "Army, Air Force, Army and Marines, and those guys were down the road." So
Wow.
I said, "That's cold-blooded, but okay." I walked to the Army. I said, "I really don't want to fly helicopters, but you know, we'll give it a try." So I did the ASVAB test, and I scored pretty high. And they were like, "You can have any job you want." And he gave me the list, and I went and I saw it. I was like, "All right, that's close enough." He goes, and I said, "Well, can I go fly?" He goes, "Well, what better for you to do, because you're 19, go in there as an enlisted guy for a couple of years, and then go to company commander and tell him, 'Hey, I want to go to warrant officer school.'" And I said, "Cool, I'll do that." And time went on, and every unit that I showed up at was shorthanded, and they were like, "Well, we can't get rid of you because we're short on manpower, and you seem to be pretty good at what you do at fixing helicopters, so we're going to kind of keep you there, and we'll see if we can get you down the road a little bit." And so that's kind of how it worked out. 8 years later, I was doing the same thing, and having a good time. I re-enlisted when I was in Korea, so I got re-enlisted and got my E5 stripes at the same time, or one before the other maybe. And then I got my dream sheet, filled out the dream sheet, and I went to Hawaii. I stayed in Hawaii for 3 years.
Wait a second. You actually put down where you wanted to go, and they sent you there? That's because you're a damn helicopter mechanic. That's why that shit happened. There ain't no other freaking reason. Nobody else gets that shit.
Hold on. I put down. Look, hey, I got put on Guam. It's 9 hours away. 9 hours away.
Did
from
you pick
Hawaii.
that?
Hell no, I picked Italy, man.
I'm saying that dream sheet's a bunch of bullshit. It's the few of the lucky ones. I mean, I was an engineer. I mean, the dream sheet, you throw that shit right out the window.
I had to have an army guy give me what's that thing called, when a waiver. He had to waiver me into the
Whoa, back up. You had to have an army guy do what? You needed something from an army guy?
I made a 28.
You needed something from an army guy.
Yes. I made a 28 on my ASVAB. And so they sent me in. It was the Army and Air Force. I don't know why it wasn't a Navy person. But that, you know, they're like, yeah, we'll go ahead and send your ass in, you know. And I was like, okay, you know, and then, and I
That's
was
funny.
like, yeah, I could be cleaning toilets the whole 4 years of my career. I did clean some, but it wasn't a lot. I mean, I did, you know, about 20.
I got
So you went to Hawaii.
Yeah, he
you.
did.
Went to
Look at
Hawaii.
you. And how long were you in Hawaii?
Right at 3 years.
Is that where you
Oh,
deployed to the Gulf from?
Yeah, I went from there. I actually volunteered. I could have stayed there longer. But I volunteered because that whole deal in the Gulf was kicking off, and I got transferred to Fort Hood, Texas, because all my family's in Texas, so I figured Fort Hood would be close enough. And I got there. I wasn't there, but maybe 3 months before the sergeant major walked up to me and says, "Hey, you're the senior guy in the barracks. I need you to take a few men and ride the boat with all of our equipment over to Saudi." And I was like, "Do I have a choice?" He was like, "Well, no, you just got voluntold, basically."
You got voluntold.
damn, man, I
I
got
love it
that
when
a
that
lot.
happens. Voluntold. Yeah.
Yes, sir,
Okay,
Sergeant Major.
so so you know, you first went in, you went in as an MP, and I apologize to all y'all out there because most of us had troubles with the MPs.
No, no,
So
no. Boot camp was at the same place where the MPs were.
that's it.
Yeah,
he,
yeah.
he was
Boot
a
camp was.
mechanic. He was not an MP.
Yeah, I was,
He
I
was
was,
a
I was,
mechanic.
I was
Oh,
destined. Yeah, I signed up to be a mechanic. So it just so happened that the MP school was at the same place where the
See,
boot
he
camp.
worked on those things that are behind him and that wonderful picture behind him there, those wonderful
on a
helicopters. Yeah.
Navy ship.
Yeah,
Look behind
rarely
you. Look
that
behind him,
happens.
John. Blue water, not
Look
grass.
behind it for what? A fucking tugboat or what?
Hey, it's a ship, man. Right there. Everybody
I
can
don't know
see it.
why I said that. So people
I
are flipping me off right now. I know it.
and I hope that they do. No. Okay.
Deservedly so.
So so you got over the Desert Storm. Let's talk about when you got over there because I mean, these are some interesting stories, and I think everybody needs to hear some of this stuff.
So, I think this is where that whole journey started. Is that so? Fort Hood, Texas. We load up this boat. It was the name of the ship was, I'll never forget it, the Stena Sea Rider. It was a big blue and white ship. It was a civilian boat that had Irish crew, Irish officers, and
Oh,
Portuguese crew. So it was an interesting mix of people on that boat. But at the same time, since we had a bunch of D9 dozers, all kind of real heavy equipment on the lower deck, I thought I was going to be the only NCO there. Turns out that they decided to ship an E7 in there from a guard unit. I want to say in either Mississippi or one of the southern states, Mississippi, Alabama. I don't remember, but they gave him something that they didn't give me. They gave him all the pills. Uh, they gave him all the pills that they were supposed to. He made us take. So that was when we're talking about the anthrax and the malaria and sorry, hold on one second. The
P-tabs.
malaria. There
BB
was,
tablets.
yeah, and I think one of them was. So there was. I want to say there was three of them altogether, and so he was issued enough for everybody that was on the boat, Army guys, uh, uh, to issue out every day. So every day that was a hell of a trip. Every day we'd go out and do PT, and because he was a POL guy, he was a motor pool guy. We went on all three decks. We had three decks full of equipment, and every day we'd go start every single one of those vehicles on that boat. And of course, we'd fill up the whole entire, especially
Oh,
the lower deck.
shit.
So we were
They made you start them all up?
every
Really?
day, every
What the
day.
hell? That makes
Uh,
like almost zero sense. I thought you were gonna tell me they made you stand in formation, take all them damn pills every day.
well, that was part of the formation in the
Ugh.
morning after PT. So yeah, and he had to witness everybody take them. After
Oh, that blows.
yeah, yeah. So that was not fun. So that was 33 and a half days of doing that. Uh, the interesting part of the whole trip was that we were in the water. We were 200 miles from the Azores, and there was a hurricane in the water. It passed behind us, but we had swells 40 to 50 feet, massive.
You sissies.
Oh, yeah.
Man,
Yeah,
no, that ain't no joke. Bet you had a lot of guys puking.
scary
I
stuff,
was
man. Scary
I was
stuff.
gonna say I'd be puking everywhere.
Oh yeah. It was a lot of guys were. I was up on the captain's deck because I said, if I'm going to go down with this thing, I'm going to be at the highest spot. That way, I can just jump into the big orange safety escape capsule thing that they have. That was crazy, man. So 33 and a half days it took us to get to Dhahran, and going through the Suez Canal, the Suez Canal was
The sewage canal.
Yeah, because
So
we had to stop at the mouth of the Suez Canal to let some Egyptian guys on because we weren't allowed to set foot off the boat to do the mooring and that kind of thing. It wasn't just
Really?
us; it was
No, that's
it was
true.
the ship's crew as well. Yeah,
You
That's
can't
true.
step on land?
no,
Why is that?
They got to moor your ship up first. And then
that was their job, so they get paid for that. So we take 3 or 4 of their
Oh.
guys on, and then when it comes time to stop the lane and let the other traffic go, those guys jump out and then they lock it down and we sit there and wait. So anyway, we're sitting there waiting. Those guys are going to the galley and loading up cans of beans and soup and whatever. By the time it was all over with, at the end of it, where they got off, their little luggage pouches tripled in size.
Imagine
That was
that.
interesting. That was interesting. Yeah. Ask
So-
other guys that have gone through there before.
So you got into Iran. So what kind of how long was it before you started taking on missions at that point?
So after we set up camp there in Dhahran, and we basically got all the helicopters off, put them back together because we had to take blades and stuff off of those guys, and we put all the helicopters together, and then we went from there to KKMC, King Khalid Military City, way up north. So put the
You went
helicopters
there
together.
first?
Yeah, that's where we set up camp.
Really?
Mhm.
Huh.
And it wasn't
Okay.
at the Air Force Base side. We were alone. We were separated from the Air Force side. We're just out in the weeds, out in the sand anyway. They built us a little basically a small runway, and that's where we parked all the helicopters. And then we made a perimeter all the way around Concertina wire, set up all the GP medium tents that we had, and the most important thing was the mess hall because we needed a mess hall.
Yeah. But your mess hall didn't burn down, right? I'm guessing like some of the others.
No,
Yeah.
not that time.
You wait a second. You had it. So what was it like so were you working on Chinooks while you were there? Or you working on all types of aircraft or just Chinooks?
Just CH-47D models is what we had back then, and we had 16 of them. And
those things it was bad enough for an attack helicopter kicking up the shit that they kicked up. Those things had to be nasty.
One of our Chinooks sucked up sand and it just stalled and went right down in there. So they had to go out and get the mechanics and all that, fix it and get it back to the ship.
Yeah, it was a bad deal. We learned a lot of things real fast as far as landing in the desert. For sure, you had to. Those guys wind up developing a technique to do it because otherwise you'd brown out, and as soon as you get spatial in the middle of a brownout, you can roll over real easy. So, so it was unique. So it was cool that we had a little bit of asphalt out there to land on that, and that way it didn't kick up a lot of extra stuff. But
so a brownout. So a second definition brownout. I saw the brownout for the helicopter and brownout. Didn't shit all over yourself because you couldn't see what you were doing.
Okay. So you're out there. So you're out there and you got the little bit of runway and you got a mess hall and all that. When did y'all start like seeing missiles? Did y'all see missiles where y'all were, or were y'all far away?
Yeah. No, man. I think no sooner than we got there than that they started sending Scud missiles, and of course just about a mile. I don't know. I'd say a mile and a half to 2 miles to our west was a Patriot battery out there set up camp. And thanks to those guys, man, we got I got a couple of souvenirs that I brought back, Scud missile chunks that I got in my toolbox. But they'd fire. That's the first time I'd ever seen a Patriot battery go to town on some stuff, you know. So every time one of them things come in, we'd get the loud horn and the warning, and I think the one that went and hit down there close to Daharan and killed a few people went right over us, because we're pretty far up north, you know. We're probably, I don't know, 15-20 minute flight to the border from there, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. It's been a minute since I've been flying around up there, but you know, it was pretty interesting. Those guys would fire at all time. And it's like they didn't like us to sleep, because we're in the middle of, we're trying to get some sleep, and all you hear is woo, the siren kicks off.
So you went on, how many people on board a Chinook for a typical, well, I know this is a bit of a loaded question because I'm sure it varies, but what would be a basic crew size for a Chinook?
So pilot, co-pilot, crew chief, and a flight engineer, and sometimes an extra guy for in case, you know, in case we needed extra help. But we can carry 33 loaded packs.
Damn.
Yeah, that was full combat load packs, and we were carrying guys. You know, we're just a big transport. You know, beans and bullet. You call, we haul.
Well,
we're
I want to talk about what we talked about. It's like that you have to bring up. So did y'all's chemical alarms went off?
the chemical alarm was a chemical alarm, but it wasn't going off because of the chemical. I want to say it's because we had the incoming Patriots or the incoming Scuds.
Okay.
But what, Joe? Before you go into it, let people know that you went to NBC school, right?
I did.
You went to NBC school, so that I think.
I went to NBC school in Korea because I was trying to hit every single school that I could get into that I could volunteer for, because at the time I was trying to get promotion points to get the next promotion. So
and for those, and I'm just interrupt for those people who don't know what NBC, most people do. Nuclear, biological, and chemical, is what that stands for.
Correct. And out of all of the things that I kept, had a roll of M9 tape. Google it, you'll see what it does. But it basically turns different colors if it gets some kind of a chemical on it. And so I thought, you know what, this will be kind of handy to have. It'd be kind of handy to have if we wind up in a place where there's chemicals in the area. So I have a roll of M9 tape. I take a couple of strips of it, put it on the nose of the helicopter there, and we'd go out and fly a mission. This was after the ground war kicked off. We'd go out and fly a mission, and we'd come back, and I noticed that my tape was a little bit purple. The more we flew out there, the deeper into Iraq we flew, the more purple it got. We went straight up north from KKMC, and we were following the 21st Mechanized Infantry after everything kicked off. I'm kind of condensing it a little bit, but so we kind of went in a right turn like this. So we went north and to the east towards Kuwait, and every time we came back to KKMC, my tape would be purple, and that tape would be purple, and I would take it off, and I'd go show my platoon sergeant, hey, this thing is purple, man. Oh, we need to run this up the chain and let people know what's going on. and kind of fell on deaf ears. Nobody said no more about it.
And you didn't like purple because it looked pretty. Yeah,
technically, what I would have done is I would have walked up to him and I would have had all my gear on and my mask on. You son of a bitches might want to be wearing this shit about right now.
And what does the identification of purple mean, Joe?
Nerve gas.
Nerve gas.
It is a nerve gas, and I think that particular M9 tape, it's a perishable thing. So after after 2 or 3 or 4 years, it's no good. But it would detect nerve gas, mustard gas, and one other gas. I can't remember what it was. I want to say it was either 3 or 4 different colors they would turn, and it would always come back purple, except for one time it came back a little bit of a mustard color. And so I was concerned. I was concerned that we're all getting really exposed to something that we shouldn't be. So I talked to my platoon sergeant. I said, "Hey man, I think we need to start flying. At least start flying with our MOP suits on. That way, in case we get into one of these places that we're going to, that it's already been lit up or something. We need to see what we need to run this up the chain and get somebody that knows more about it than we do. So."
That's
It's
crazy.
incredible how that whole deal went down. Everybody just ignored it, and we kept on. Thank God it wasn't. I guess it just wasn't in a high enough dose. It was, because everything works off of parts per million, right? So here is a helicopter cruising at 140 or 150 knots, and are we catching just little microscopic parts? You really can't tell because the tape is just going to, it's just going to pick up what it's going to pick up, right? So I. I suppose that at some point, um, it would either show completely, totally purple, like we were taught, but then at the same time, those guys that were doing the training were like, yeah, it's going to turn a shade of purple, So I think at that time, while I was in school in Korea, nobody had really, dipped it or sprayed it with some real nerve gas, because I mean, where are you going to find some nerve gas, right? So
Right. Yes. So the very fact that it turned any shade of purple
yeah.
is, unnerving. And what did your E7 that you, now I understand because I was there. I mean, I can, higher up NCO, you would think they would say, yeah, let's just, do as you suggested, or it should have already been put in place, but it just got ignored. But that's because everybody was saying to ignore it.
Right. How many machines did we have out there? 40 something.
Oh, yeah, tons of them, man. Tons of them.
44,000 out
we
there.
weren't, what is crazy to me though, that we were not the only Chinook unit out there, and not the only helicopter unit out there. We had all the medevac guys. We had the attack helicopter guys, the Apache guys, the Cobra guys, the Navy guys. We had all kinds of helicopters uh, uh, that were flying in and out of there. So it wasn't just us. So I think that it was probably probably more of a, I mean, it's kind of a gift and a curse, I guess, to have had, because I'm a pack rat. Mechanics are typically pack rats. So I said, this table come in handy for something one of these days. And
I never keep extra of anything. Yeah, my wife's always trying to get me to throw shit away.
Now my wife.
Why do you all need that?
Yeah, me. I'm like, throw that. Let's just throw it all away. Now let's talk about when you got home. I want to talk about when you got home, because talk a little bit about that. When did you start showing some type of symptoms of what's going on with your body?
I'd say before I left, I would get, and I'd never been, cast iron stomach, man. You're 19, 20, 21-year-old kid. You can eat anything, anywhere, anytime. So we were all just on MREs and MREs and whatever else that they decided to feed us. So some of that fake meat from the from the mess hall. I shouldn't say that. Anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
But before I left, I would I would have this inner, just really bad gases where it'd be bad enough to puke, and I just thought I thinking we're eating a bunch of junk food out here, and we're trying not to eat as much of the stuff that that we're packing with us, because MREs got old pretty quick, and maybe I was eating too many of the dehydrated fruits or something. I was trying to make excuses for why I was just feeling really shitty, and my stomach was always jacked up, and everybody had to deal with those stupid camel spiders. And I thought at one point I thought I had gotten nailed by one on my leg, and my leg swelled up, and it looked like I had road rash. If you'd have fallen off of a motorcycle or something and you skidded across the ground, that's kind of what it looked like. So,
Yeah.
went to the medic, and they were like, yeah, here's some of this ointment stuff. Put that on there, you'll be all right. And I never thought twice about it. So I get home, and months later, I get home, and my wife, she's like, hey, what is that all over you? You got this rash on you. And I would sleep without a shirt back in those days, and I would have this rash going up and down, just my haunches here on the what is now my hangover. But she's like, man, and it would get all over my back. And I thought, well, maybe I'm allergic to the soap we're using or something. And she wound up finding, after multiple evolutions, we wound up using this stuff called Dreft, which is for babies' clothes. And that seemed to not upset my skin as much. And I would wear shirts at that point. But the rashes always continued from then on, up and down my arms here, on both sides, up and down my legs, on the front side, behind my knees, around my waistline, up and down my rib cage, and just randomly. There's like just randomly. And
Did your wife ever encounter any of these rashes?
no.
Okay.
She did not, and she so got to looking at me, and then we got to talking about it. Now, but at this juncture, I was already out and home, and out of the military, so I took an early out, because they were looking for volunteers to get early out. So I did. So we came home, and that's kind of where all this started manifesting. And then, a year or two goes by, and then I'm still having these stomach issues, and right around 90, I'd say it was 94 time frame. So I got out the end of 91, 94 time frame. I get these crazy. It's like somebody took a red hot poker and stuck it right in the middle of my gut, and I double over and fall down. I thought I was having a heart attack, because I was still working on airplanes, and in the civilian world. So I thought maybe I'm just too stressed or working, because I was working long hours for sure. I was working for a medevac company, and those were 20-hour days sometimes. And so I thought, well, maybe I'm just overdoing it. But turns out that that was the first major thing. I blew out my gallbladder, and it basically burst, and it was poisoning
Oh,
me.
no shit. Your gallbladder
Yeah.
essentially burst?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bam.
Guys, can I take a little break just for 1 second? I have got to answer this call.
No, that's fine. That's fine, because
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to John a little bit about
Okay.
something. So he's taking a little bit of a call right now, but I want to bring up something. Camel spiders. Did you ever see any out there?
I did, but I never had any issue with them.
Were they
I
big?
did. Pretty good. It's a spider. Yeah, it's pretty.
How
pretty
big?
good size. I don't recall, to be honest with you.
Are they
But I
really
remember
the
they were.
ones, like I see people holding them up and they're like huge? Can they really
Well,
get that big?
That's a good question. I'm not sure I can give you an honest answer.
Is it bigger than your head?
Well, that's.
No, I'm just saying. I mean,
I don't recall ever seeing anything. I mean, my thing was, the spider thing. I heard a few people talk about them. I'm not saying we never had them. I just don't remember that much about them.
I mean, because I've seen guys who are out there, and if anybody wants to comment about this, I want to know, have y'all ever seen camel spiders? I want to know how big they are. Because, I mean, if you Google them, you come up, these Army guys are on these great big giant, like huge spiders. And I'm like, there's no damn way they're that big.
I see. Now, spiders don't really freak me out. Now snakes is a whole different ball game. I have
Snakes
no
ain't
tolerance.
nothing.
I have no tolerance for snake. Gardener snake, that shit ain't right. The way they move, and my family knows that. But it's kind of funny, because my entire family. I'm not quite sure about my son, but I know my wife and the daughter. Spiders is an absolute no-go, whereas snakes don't really bother them that much. Now, so it's kind of interesting. But when Joe was talking about how they went to KKMC and you asked him about where you get missiles, KKMC, that's where I flew out of to come back home. And I don't remember how clearly we weren't that far from it, but I think it was interesting that that's basically where, or not far from where Joe settled in at initially.
What I find interesting is the strips, that the
Oh,
chemical strips. I cannot believe.
yeah.
I wish honestly he would have kept one and kind of bagged it or something.
I was going to ask him if he kept any samples, but he says, the product's no good after 3 years, which I get. But just the very fact that he went to NBC school and he clearly could see that these strips were turning purple, which is a nerve agent. Hey, nerve agent would freak me the hell out. It was bad enough. I mean, I think almost every time we have a podcast at some given point, we ask about the M8 alarms. And every single person says, yes, the M8 alarms, which is the alarm that goes off to say, hey, we got a chemical floating around here. And I know for us, our officers and higher NCOs all tried to blow it off. Well, somebody was out at the perimeter smoking, which is bullshit. I know that now. But here again, back like Joe was saying, when you're young and dumb and you're just like, okay, you don't know any better. You're hoping, which is kind of a good thing. You're too naive not to understand what the potentials, what you're going through, what you're really going through, and the higher ups are just kind of crossing their fingers,
and us, right. I mean, I agree with you on that. Like, you hope you don't get sprayed by something, but we did. But right now is a really good time because I'll call this the break time, to where we can bring up about Patreon. A lot more people have joined Patreon. Thank y'all for joining it. Please go on there. We do our after shows. That's where we go on there and we say anything we want to. It is it is $1 a month, but you get to hear a lot more interesting stuff in the after shows that we can't say live on Facebook. And
yeah, we're kind of.
Please stop turning me in, whoever's turning me in, because they shut down the Facebook thing for a little bit. I had to send an email, and so somebody keeps turning me in for false information. There's nothing on our program that is false. Our program is strictly about Desert Storm veterans, Gulf War veterans, and veterans who are suffering from what has happened to them during wartime. And it doesn't matter if you're Vietnam, Korean, Desert Storm, all the way to Gulf War, all the way up to Afghanistan. We all suffer from something from the military. And there's nothing that we say on here that is negative. I know it is negative, but it's for the right reason. And so I know for a fact that in time, everybody is going to get our message. It's going to take time, and which is fine. I'm good with it taking time, because once these idiots up in Washington realize, hey, all these guys are suffering, I hope it helps our kids. I hope it helps our grandkids. I think for me it's too late, but I do need to give an update on the neurologist.
Oh, yeah, let's hear it. What's going on?
So they have determined, they diagnosed me with the wrong neuropathy. I have to go through all the tests over again. All over again.
Which is bullshit, which is ridiculous.
Yes. From the 15 years that I've had this, they have told me now I was diagnosed wrong, that whenever it came back, the guy just guessed at it. And so now, but here's the good news. The good news is if it's the one that they really think it is, they can give me a certain medication, which is like a steroid. It's a small dose of steroids and other stuff that will start taking the neuropathy and pushing it back. My hands will come numb. My feet won't hurt or any of that. But I have to do that stupid freaking neuropathy test where they
You
stick
said
the
it's
needle.
painful, right?
It is
Did you say it was
painful.
painful?
Everybody, some people call me a crybaby. I don't care. If you ain't never taken it, you can kiss my butt because it hurts. But
I can't.
I don't know if they're gonna make me redo the upper endoscopy and the colonoscopy.
Oh
But I
God.
know I have to
Well,
take every other test, the MRIs, everything. So
well, see, Kevin, you and I, like you just mentioned, it frustrates me that somebody wants to, boot us for bad information. And all of our guests that we've had on over the years now, we're all sharing our experience, our personal experience, some about our family members, and we share information to let the fellow veterans and families know you're not alone. We all having varying degrees of issues. A lot of us have some of the same things, and then it's all about what can we do to fix it. You're not going to fix it. The only thing you're going to do is band-aid it. You're not going to fix it. So drop it.
hey,
There's no magic pill that's out there.
and on top of that, John, it, man, what people are not realizing out there, they're not just the environment is not just bad out there. It's bad here now. We brought this stuff back. You got the train derailment, or the food we eat. Everything we're doing now is toxic to our whole entire body. And the only way that we stop it is by talking about it, by discussing it, by electing leaders who really care about it. And I mean, I had one guy call me last week, and me and him were talking. He goes, "Well, let's talk about the climate change, what happened during Desert Storm." Dude, it was 118 degrees.
Yeah, it was
What the hell
bloody
do you
hot.
mean the climate change?
And freezing cold. It
Yeah.
was both.
I'm like, to me, there was no climate change there. It was hot or it was cold. There wasn't no warm. There wasn't no medium. The sun did.
No.
And
It was either one or the other.
but do you ever remember it raining?
Oh yeah. Oh,
I
like bloody hell.
I don't ever remember it raining when we were out at sea.
Oh, well, see,
But during
I
our
was
time there.
like my flag shows. I was in the engineer unit, and Joe was making comment that he had D9s and stuff on the ship that he was bringing across. It was raining so hard at several different points. Our dozers were literally bulldozing moats around our tents. That's not an exaggeration in the least. It was raining that bad,
Right. And when Joe gets back on, we're going to run this program a little bit longer because everybody needs to hear about what Joe has gone through because he has tumors. And that's what this program's about. He's not the only one. There are people out there who have had tumors. There are people out there that have issues going on with their bodies and all that stuff that isn't normal. I mean, you don't come back, be a healthy guy, and then all of a sudden have a tumor. And Joe is back. You're good. Hey, so let's get into the. I want to get into one thing. I'm glad you're back. Everybody's glad you're back because we've been talking about kind of some of the other stuff you've been going through. Let's talk about tumors.
Yeah.
I will because I know you're about to go there.
Yeah. So 2000 time frame. Again, my wife, I have her to thank for this. I was, like I said, I've been in aviation the whole time. So, I thought I was just working long hours, and because I did. I mean, I was a workaholic, no doubt. I quit drinking somewhere before that because I thought, I'm spending too much money on alcohol and I can't remember anything. But I'm just joking. But she was like, "Hey, man, you're too sluggish, man. There's something wrong with you. You're always grumpy. I'm always saying." She said, "It sounds like you." I'm always telling her, "I don't get enough sleep. You guys are making too much noise. The kids are, I'm trying to justify it." But she makes me go to the hospital, to the doctor, and says, "Give him a complete workup on blood and endocrine, all that stuff." And so I reluctantly went, and within just a couple, 3 or 4 days, the doctor was like, "Hey, man, I need to see you back in my office right now as soon as possible. So I leave work, boogie on over to the doctor, and he says, we need to go and get you to an endocrinologist as soon as possible. I have a guy, here's a referral. He knows you're coming. Take this file and go with it. So I get to the endocrinologist, and I check in, and the guy pulls me into the office, and he opens. This is how he did it. He had a notebook, and he goes, we need to see a neurosurgeon. And I was like, what? A neurosurgeon? I said, what did you see? I said, what did you see? He goes, you got some numbers that are off the chart, man. We need to go see this neurosurgeon. I was like, well, actually, I'm thinking, okay, I'm not the smartest guy on the planet, but neuro means brain power somewhere. He was like, yeah. So he calls his neurosurgeon, and he gives him the same thing. And he opens up the file and does the same kind of reaction. It's like, oh, shoot. He goes, we need to get you in an MRI as quickly as possible. So a couple of days, 3 days later, I'm laying on the MRI bed, and they do the thing. And they get the results back. The next day I go back, and they're like, okay, here's what we got to do. You have a massive tumor. He goes, and I can't believe it because he goes, can you see? I said, yeah, I can see. He goes, this thing, and he shows me in the picture. He holds it up. And he says, this thing is so big that it's within 1.5 millimeters of your optic nerve, right behind my optic nerve. I was like, holy cow, that sounds serious. He goes, yeah. He goes, we got to get this thing out of there. And so they did. I scheduled the surgery, and they plucked this thing out. He says it was about the size of a silver dollar. So they went in over my gum line. They broke my nose. So they used the boroscope to go this way.
Ooh, go,
They
whoa,
drilled.
Damn.
Yeah. So I used to tell people. I used to tell people what they did was they took my lip and stretched it over my head and went in that. But
Damn.
Oh my
they
God, I'm
drilled a
not
couple
hungry
of holes.
now.
He says when they drilled the second hole, it kind of oozed out, and then they had to chip it away, the rest of it, and they clean out because it was a pituitary, so it was in the pituitary chamber, right? And the pituitary gland looks like a little cherry hanging from a tree. It's just a little tiny, it's very small, and that's what handles all your body chemicals. So what was causing it? So I said, what does all this mean? He says, well, we're going to do a blood sample after the surgery and see if your numbers came back down. And sure enough, so the chemical that I was making an excess amount of was prolactin. And if you guys have been married, and you know that your wives get an increased amount of prolactin when they lactate after a child is born. So one of my complaints for the doctor that dismissed me because he poked me in the belly and goes, you're just a fat boy. He goes, you should lose some weight. That's what he told me. And I said, but my chest, my nipples hurt like crazy, like and he was like, no, you're just a fat boy. So fast forward to this thing, the guy was like, so the level, this is an idea. So you can Google this too, but my prolactin level was 560, where a normal male, any male, should be around between 7 and 15. So I was at 460, 7 and 15.
Wow.
So I have to ask this question because somebody posted this. Says, do you have pictures of it, of your tumor?
Of the tumor?
Yeah.
They
Because I sure the hell don't want to see them. He just wants to know if you got pictures.
No, but I did find a video. It's called a transphenoidal surgery, and it's become very. Luckily for me, the guy that did my surgery was one of the leading guys because before to get to the pituitary gland, they would have to crack your forehead this way and go this way. This is one of the guys that actually was in the group of guys that designed the access area to go so minimal facial, distortion and all that stuff. But for about a year after that, it felt like a mule kicked me in the mouth because my teeth were all loose.
No kid.
Oh yeah. The stitches took about 3 months to wear away because inside of my lip they stitched it back together to the rest of me. Pretty gross.
No.
And look, that's only the big half of it. Down my leg, right leg, I got a scar about yay long because they cut my leg to get fascia, which is the material, it's kind of a sticky material that sticks your sticks your ligaments and muscles to your bone. So they needed that to stuff it back into the hole in my head with some super glue.
No, no,
And,
God, no.
and no joke. Yeah, you can ask my wife. She was standing in there, and she goes, "So, a week and a half later, I'm getting discharged, and the doctor goes, okay." He's looking at my wife, telling her, "Okay, if you see clear fluid running down his nose, it's not mucus. It's probably brain fluid. You need to bring him back."
Oh
Oh,
my God.
Jesus.
That's what they said.
Holy crap.
Now, have you had any more problem with tumors?
No, no. Well,
No.
I take that back. Yes, I did have. Many years later, this is probably in the probably 10 to 11 time frame. I got one right here on the side of my neck, and at first I thought it was a pimple, but it wasn't. It just kept growing and growing and growing. And when I went and got it out, they called it a sebaceous cyst.
No.
And I was awake for that. I was like in a barber chair in this doctor's office, and all I heard was, if you can imagine, they numbed the whole area. There's a mirror right there where I can see it. They numbed the whole area. They cut it vertically, and the thing spread open. And it was like, wow. The guy goes, "It's got like all these tentacles around it, like blood vessels that encompassed it." And so all I heard, no joke, all I heard was this.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh my gosh, like a person. Oh, damn, no.
I'm bleeding.
See, I wouldn't want to watch that. I would not want to watch that.
And you watched it? And you watched it?
I watched it.
Are you crazy?
No, hell no.
I said,
no.
I told him, I said, "Doc, I need to see it because number one, we only just met, but you're way too close to my jiggler right there. I didn't want you to miss me."
Well, Jason on here, he's talking about he's been through that too. He's had one also. And so, see, that's what I'm saying. A lot of vets out there, this is a subject that hasn't been talked about, tumors, and it needs to be talked about.
Right.
And I would like to have a study done. How many tumors have Desert Storm veterans had compared to regular civilian person?
Yeah.
And so that'd be a good study because it's never talked about.
Here's another thing that's crazy about my, I've been inside of my body for 59 years now.
I hope so.
They I don't know if you can see this, but this was one of these right here.
Oh my God.
Oh.
At first, so I'm a pretty hardcore guy, man. At first, you can ask my wife. She was like, "You're out of your damn mind." But I would take a razor blade and I would whack this thing off.
No.
And it would bleed some, and I would just bandage it. But it kept growing.
You just cut it off?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Are you crazy?
I thought it was
what kind
like
of freaking drugs you taking, brother?
None.
No way. No hell.
You pour a beer over and say, "Oh, it's numb now."
Well, so I said, I work with jet fuel and I work with hydraulic chemicals and all that stuff, and I'm like, I just put a little bit of jet fuel on there, it'd be all right.
Oh God, no.
It's a whole nother way of phrasing. Put a little dirt on it, right?
And be honest with you, it's almost like double whammy. Also for you, like the Navy guys, there was jet fuel along with oil rig fires, along with chemical warfare, and along with everything else, that they put inside of our bodies with the PTABs and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And man, I tell you what, no, hell no, no.
I try to keep a positive outlook, man. It's if I sit there and just chew on all of the things, man, you can get to be pretty bitter about it,
So you ETS out of the Army as a mechanic for helicopters and whatever. Sounds like you transitioned that into the civilian world.
Yes, yeah. I did.
So did you ever get to the point you're working for private companies, or get to the point where you're working for Uncle Sam?
I made that mistake twice in my 20 years.
The mistake. Interesting.
I made that mistake. Yeah.
You tell if you don't mind.
So when I got out of Fort Hood, so I ETS out of Fort Hood, and Dynacor was there, and a lot of people know that name. Dynacor was there, and they were doing the exact same thing that I was doing. I was maintenance team leader and a crew chief, so I would lead guys, and we would do an inspection on the whole helicopter. and put it back together and kick it out the door and let it go fly. And these guys were doing the exact same thing. I thought, hey man, easy peasy. I don't got to retrain for another job. It took a while to get my clearance and all that stuff. And I finally got called to go out there. And Fort Hood, Texas, I go out there, and they put me on a team on this because they were doing Apaches, Blackhawks, CH-47s, Chinooks, and at the time they were doing the variant of the Blackhawk, which wound up being like the one the Navy has, the tail gear, the tail landing gear is in the wrong spot. It's in the body instead of the way back. Anyway, so they put me on a maintenance team. They were like, "Hey man, you're the freshest guy here. All these guys are all retirees now. They're E7s, E8s, just older cats that have, went from what I did to bigger responsibility jobs, paper pushers basically at that point, and they hadn't laid hands on the helicopters. They were like, this is the crew that needs the most amount of help, so let's get on there and make it happen. So I was like, this is great. So we went to town, and I literally the manager, and I didn't last there but maybe 3 months, but the manager came down there on more than one occasion to tell me that we were going too fast. We're doing it way too fast. He goes, we have 16 weeks to do this inspection. And I had to tell him, I said, no, you don't understand. We were doing this very same inspection with everything that we got to do in 3 weeks with 6 guys. And we were just making, he goes, no, you don't understand. We have 16 weeks. I said, no, you don't understand. We can do it in 3 weeks.
Well, man, we're about to hit into the after the show, everybody. Right. I want to thank y'all for listening, Joe. Man, thanks for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I hope I didn't mess things up too bad for you.
No. Hey, as a matter of fact, I was able to get my little spill in there a little bit. Good. But I mean, this is important. Is I'm going to have as much as I can look into. I'm going to have a total of each and every person out there that has had tumors. I'm going to try to get the data on that. So I'm going to work on that, and I'll let you know for sure, Joe. But and thanks for reaching out to me on my
YouTube page.
Yeah, YouTube page.
Just
there.
hang tight, everybody.
And so if y'all need to reach me, hey, and y'all go to YouTube, subscribe to it, and also don't forget about if you want to come on a show, you just want to talk, y'all can email me at kevinsimon@goforsideeffects.com. And we're going to now go into the after show. Thanks, guys.